August 16th. This is the Bud 60 meeting from the Woodlands Water Agency. I'd like to begin with a roll call. Director Betty Doherty.
Here.
Director Donna McAleer.
Here.
Director Bob Lux is here. Director Dale Walker. Here. And Director Mike Wise.
Here.
Very good. Thank you. We have a quorum. We have an agenda. We will now take a moment for an invocation and the pledges of allegiance with our new flags. I don't know where they came from or who did it, but thank you very much. We're going to miss our old little friends down here. Heavenly Father, we come to you today as an assembled body. We humbly request that you bless our meeting, our community, and our nation. Help us to work diligently, always for the common good and in the best interest of those who we have been elected to represent. Guide us to be insightful and prudent in our intentions, visions, plans, deliberations, decisions, and their fulfillment. Work through us to provide a spirit of welcome to all in attendance, to engage in respectful and thoughtful dialogue, discussion, with understanding, with wisdom and humility. Amen.
Amen.
If you wish, prior to reciting the pledges of allegiance, please take an additional moment of silent prayer or reflection in the manner of your preference. Thank you. Pledge of allegiance to the United States flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Pledge to the Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. All right, very good. Consider an agenda item number 3, receive comments from the public. Shelley, do we have any public proposals? Good. Agenda item number 4, consider and act upon request for adjustments to or relief from specific charges imposed by the district. Mike?
I have nothing this month.
Thank you, Jeannie. Thank you, Mike. Okay, review and approval of the consent agenda. Pages 1 through 13 of our meeting packets. Please. Are there any questions at this time? If not, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Director McAleer seconded. Shelley, if you didn't hear. Further discussion regarding the consent agenda, items 5 through 8. No questions. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstain? Thank you. Okay. Now we get to the meat of the meeting here, guys. Regular agenda, review the district's draft fiscal year 22-23 operating budget and recommended water rate structure. Mike and Maureen will lead that discussion.
You should get a packet with several items, paper clipped together. First item is the budget. We'll get to that in a moment. Have the memorandum from Jim and Maureen is going to hits on the highlights of the budget. There is a typo that Maureen found on the SJRA bulk, it's on page 2. SJRA bulk wholesale and mud retail water sewer rates. Sewer increase, residential sewer increase, second line there at the bottom from 485 to 553, not 853.
I have a question.
Yeah, it's mentioned above that. We just missed it on the typo. Adam will talk about your tax rate, but we are proposing a reduction in tax rate for this year. Yeah, this is just for your review and comment. Take the next 30 days. A little bit less, we want comments by the 6th of September. If you have comments, email them to me, Jim, Maureen, Shelley, any or all of us, and we'll get the answers for you. And we'll answer everybody, so you'll all get the same answer if you have a question. But we'll just take questions on the budget if you have it. And again, it's just for review this time. Your review and comment, no action needed today.
I don't remember that I've ever gotten this before in other budgets that I've looked at, but I sure did appreciate it.
The definition of the line items.
Have y'all always passed that out?
Yeah. It's very.
I have no memory, so that must be.
Tell you what the revenues and expenses are and the codes we
I
use.
love to do it with that number. Worked great.
The biggest portion or the biggest kind of eye opener is the administrative fee, of 30%. I think we don't tell you that the biggest reason is we're just not doing any projects where we get our normal 10% overhead. We just don't have any big, like we've had the FEMA projects and the big job, the ditch job we were doing. They're just not there. So to make that up, that's why the administrative fee has such a large jump, 30% jump. Salaries, as you remember, we did budget for 11% salary increase to have a man, let's have an employee come on and mid-year and kind of follow Jim and Jim can train him for his retirement. Double paying for that position. So
When did you say that date was?
I think he's going to come on in January.
Mhm.
I think that's.
And do we know his name? Did you say his name and I just missed it?
It's still work in progress.
Work, okay, all right.
Name just yet. I know they've interviewed one or two already, but have not been a switch.
Okay.
Preliminary questions? Always like to, this is probably the two most important months that we work on, because if you,
Yeah, we don't have August and September. As of yet, we still have, no, and we'll have August. So when we approve the budget in September, we'll have September's.
Mike?
Yeah.
On the administrative fee, I assume that a lot of that administrative, you said it works on projects when you have them. What if we don't have the revenue, we don't have the projects, what are they doing?
It covers, I'll let Maureen answer what it all covers, but when we do the project, like a ditch repair job that we had an actual contractor do, we would get 10% on that fee just for administering the contract, handling the pay estimates, and so forth. Those kind of padded our, but not padded, those kind of helped our budget with the JPA personnel. All the incidentals that go into the administrative fee. She'll tell you about that.
The section purchase services for Woodlands Water, it's the 5,300 accounts on the, I guess if you flip your page. Those are basically the repairs and maintenance, and Woodlands Water pays those invoices, collects from the MUDs, and that's what the bill backs are, right? The payment every month back to the Woodlands Water. And we add 10% from the districts to all those invoices. So if there's less projects, there's less revenue to the Woodlands Water. That happened this budget year. So we had to increase the admin fee. The admin fee covers everything else that's not a direct bill back to the districts. Like salaries and office supplies and things like that. So we had less revenue, higher expenses, for various reasons, rising costs, things like that.
But the administrator staff is still very busy doing other things, or I guess I'm trying to get my arms around it. I'd misunderstand
Yeah,
something. Is if we're getting money from those projects to cover the administrative fee. I assume we're not doing that for any other reason other than they must be doing things, the staff must be
It's
doing
not-
things to cover, to work on those.
it's
on those.
outside.
Yeah, these are outside doing the work.
Our staff does our normal work regardless.
We just review their pay estimates, review the pay requests. Weekly meeting schedules with the contractor, stuff like that.
This the 31,000 a month administrative fee, then what is that paying? What is that?
Everything else besides what comes below that. Those line items.
Yeah, all
below
the,
that.
all the,
10% gets added to those when we pay back the Woodlands Water. So the admin fee covers everything beyond, like salaries and all the other expenses.
the supplies.
Yeah. Building repairs, things like that.
I think the most important one that is in that particular category is the addition of a deputy general manager in training, if you will, for, where you're actually paying like 2 GM salaries for at least, 3 quarters, the second, third and fourth quarters.
Okay.
Mike, just maybe this will help others as well. Confirm my, or correct my observation that all of these maintenance items that were budgeted in kind of historic, now you're back to the 21, 22 numbers or close to them. I was looking at the third one down. Is that all TACUS related? Is that why those expenses?
Many of them. Many of them. We did have some repairs too from FEMA, very district, if you remember last year. They have been 2020, not 2020. But the majority of them are fiber optic.
That's
really.
kind of what I thought, but is it realistic to go back to the 51,750 for that water service repair?
Well, a lot of that, used to be historically was stock meters and just not seeing that now with the new meters. So broken registers, we just don't see that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, maybe that'll help everyone else in their review. Any further questions or so forth? Very good. We can move to agenda item 10. And receive the financial advisor's recommendation concerning the district's proposed 2022 tax rate. And that's pages 14 and 15. Adam, good afternoon.
Good afternoon,
Nice to see you.
you as well. And just to remind you, this is a two-step process. So today, all you're doing is authorizing publication of the total tax rate. Next month, you'll actually hold a public hearing and then you'll adopt and levy the tax rate and break that tax rate between maintenance and operations and debt service. So I'll run through the memo really quickly. Feel free to stop me with any questions. Your 2022 certified value, that's as of January 1, is $2,088,000. That's about a 15.88% increase from last year's 1.8 billion. Last year, you levied a total tax rate of 16 cents. And if you flip to the second page, or I guess the cash flow, it looks like this. Could be in the packet. I have extra copies if you'd like a.
Yeah, that's the one that you did too. Say, thank you. 14 and 15.
And so I can run through these columns really quickly. So there's some fresh faces that probably haven't seen this before. So whenever you have outstanding debt, we will always present to you for tax rate purposes, or at any point, if you needed to sell additional bonds, then you would see this with the additional information. But I'll run through the columns really quickly. The first column is just year ending calendar year. Keep in mind, you're collecting taxes in arrears. So you're going to levy next month your 22 tax rate, but you won't collect those funds until, majority of those funds until 2023. So when you see the line item, the second line is 23, just think of that as your 22 certified value. So it's a little bit confusing, but you can see your beginning fund balance in the second column as of June 30th. we used, assuming fund interest of about 0.5%. The next populated column is your prior year taxable value. We don't show any growth beyond 22. We kind of work in a vacuum when you look at setting your tax rate from year to year. You can see in the next column your assessed value growth, which was the 15.88. The next column is the necessary tax rate to pay your outstanding principal and interest. Last year you needed 10 3/4 pennies, but due to the growth, you only need 10 cents this year. And you can see next year we're showing 10 cents, and then there's a pretty significant drop off after that. The next column is just assuming tax collections at that rate of 10 cents at 99% collections, which historically you have great collections. So the next column will be your total available funds. That will be your fund balance plus any collections. And then you see the next column is your current debt service. That's your outstanding principal and interest. Next column, total debt service is the same as your current debt service because you're not proposing any additional debt. Second to right column is your ending fund balance at the end of every calendar year. And then all the way to the right, your debt service coverage. The TCEQ requires that we maintain a minimum of 25% coverage of your following year's debt service. So you're good there. And then, sorry about the size of the box at the bottom. It's pretty small. We need to just add it to another page. But this is probably the most informative information. That top box is more about your M&O rate. And then, just to reiterate from a financial advising side on behalf of the district, our responsibility is more on the debt side. We work with staff on the budgeting to determine the maintenance and operations. And so you can see last year you levied 5 1/4 pennies for maintenance and operation purposes. We're proposing 5.5 cents. The parity rate, if you wanted to raise the exact amount of money that you did last year, you would need about 4.5 cents. The M&O rate to balance your budget currently is around 4 3/4 pennies. And then you see the bottom of that first box, the value of a penny in your district is about $206,000. The middle is basically a representation of your overall residence tax bill. So last year's average homestead value was $396,837. And that translated into a tax bill of about $635. This year, the average homestead went up to $438,058. And even with the proposed half penny decrease in tax bill, the tax bill will go up to $679, which is a $44 increase or a 6.94% increase. And so all the way at the bottom, it just gives you a sum of the total tax rate, the proposed rate. Last year you levied 16 cents. We're showing publication. And let me clarify that from a publication standpoint, next month when you hold your hearing, you can actually come down from the published rate. You just can't go up without republishing. So we always want you to consider the highest rate you'd consider and publish that rate, knowing that you can always come down from that. So 15.5, which would be a half a penny decrease. The parity rate is right about 14.5 cents. And then the total rate to avoid a rollback election is 15.65 cents. And because you are a developing district, according to Senate Bill 2, that means that if you go above an 8% increase in average tax bill, then your residents can petition for a rollback election and hold an election. And so as long as you're below that 8%, and right now you're at 6.94%, you would not have to worry about that. And then with respect to a rollback election, the rollback only impacts your maintenance and operations tax rate because your debt service tax rate is pledged to the bonds. And so you can see all the way at the bottom, your 22 M&O rollback rate would be just over 5 cents. So in summary, and I know I went through that really quickly, the recommendation between us and staff would be to publish 15.5 cents, which would be a half a penny decrease from last year. Happy to answer any questions.
I don't have any questions. I have a comment, though. I think it's a terrific, I think that the budget, you've utilized the appraisal creep very well. And for the budget, I was stunned to see the numbers. I thought, wow, this is great. That you can come in at these kind of numbers with, I mean, obviously there will be $44 per residential home increase in outpay, but there's a decrease in tax rate. And I think that you're doing a really good job of walking that tightrope razor's edge to keep us not only fiscally sound, but also in budget and not brutalizing the residents. That's my comment. There's no further questions for Adam. We'll take this up again next month, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bringing a motion as talked about on the recommendation, we do need a motion to authorize publication of the notice of district's intent to levy no greater than, this would be the financial advisor's recommendation, 15.5. And then next month, the board will conduct a public hearing that's required by law, and then that will be published in the current paper general circulation, and that we will require.
I'll make that motion to publish the rate. Second,
I'll second it.
okay, we have a motion and a second to publish the tax rate in the Conroe Courier. Further discussion, please.
At the same time, do you publish the hearing date?
Yes, yes.
Okay,
Yes.
and so do we know when that is?
It'll be your next regular meeting date. So if there's any concerns about quorum for our next meeting date, we'd want to know that. Don't have, this board's been good about having a quorum, but some boards would want to touch and go.
Mhm.
And if we don't have a quorum, then Jeannie has to publish it again, and it costs y'all the expense of publishing it again to us.
So anybody that wants to come to the hearing is just right out there, and
Correct.
is it usually standing room only? I mean, people
No.
out there in the,
I mean, I think for y'all's district and the Woodlands in general, it's been pretty physically conservative in terms of rates that have been set. I don't recall
Mhm.
any large contingencies of taxpayers showing up for these hearings.
And that date is September 20th.
okay. Thank you, sir.
Further discussion? Okay, all in favor of the motion as presented, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Abstain? Passes. Thank you. Okay. Receive the San Jacinto River Authority Woodlands Division Report.
Good afternoon. I
Hi,
have one
Chris.
quick item, before I pass it over to Dan and we start the whole round robin thing. At the trustees meeting, I talked about the River Authority moving into stage 2 of the drought contingency plan. It's not based off of actual production. We're still well below the triggers outlined in the plan. It was more looking at the weather projections going forward. You know, it was going to be hot and dry, has been hot and dry, lack of rain. And so we were looking to go into the drought contingency stage 2 on the 22nd, this coming up Monday. But slightly cooler temperatures and rain in the forecast, we're going to push that off, and we're just going to reevaluate it week by week. Also, come September 1st, GRP will start producing at its normal, if you will, instead of the reduced 12 million gallons a day. And so that should help as well. So at this point in time, another trustee summary says we're looking to move into it, but at this time we're not. We're going to reevaluate week by week.
Thank you, Chris.
I'm going to pass it over to Dan.
Dan, Mr. Hildebrand, update on the wastewater strategic plan.
So quick update, it's in your packet, I think it's on page 36, is a meeting summary from our July 27th progress meeting with SDRA and our consultant. Not a whole lot to update y'all on. Really, this was a time for us to internally just make sure we're all on the same page moving forward. And really where the discussion focused on was the cost estimating piece of the shortlisted alternatives that have been developed. And what assumptions go into those costs, you know, talking about inflation, talking about the life cycle costs, capital costs versus O&M costs. You know, how do we present those, to be able to compare these alternatives across a 50-year planning horizon, whether it's impact of rates or, you know, looking at different bond options and how that may impact y'all. So that's what we are currently coordinating on, working with a consultant. I'd be happy to answer any questions on that. One additional thing that's come up is we did have a stakeholder member request kind of an interim stakeholder meeting, where our next official stakeholder meeting is not till November 8th. So it was discussed that July to November frame was quite a period of time. So if any of y'all stakeholders want or see value in having another meeting in the interim before that November 8th, you know, please let us know. Any questions on?
I don't know if this is an issue, but November 8th is election day.
I would say that's an issue.
Yeah, I think that's an issue. And like I'm an election judge, so I couldn't, not that I would be coming to that meeting, but I couldn't come to.
Sure.
And I would be coming to that meeting, and I'm also.
I know you're. Somebody need to look at that.
But it is yet to be decided as to the need for it. Yes,
No,
oh,
that
pardon
was
me.
scheduled.
That's the scheduled one, okay.
Yeah, that one's scheduled
Okay.
and.
That's not, yeah. And they're bringing in new machines. They're gonna ask for double the clerks, so there'll be more people working than ever at the election.
I appreciate you bringing that up, actually. We'll look at that. Yep.
The new machines are gonna require double the clerks.
Yeah, because they're going to have paper backup.
Right, I
And so
remember.
they're gonna have more, and I haven't been trained on it yet, but I understand there'll be electronic combined with paper, and you'll have to feed your paper in and keep that in a lockbox, you know.
Yeah, I've heard.
We're all gonna be confused, so
Yeah.
it's just, they said double your clerks.
Anything else on that one?
Thank you, Mr. Hildebrand.
Anything ever?
You get to do that. I'm going to talk about the last three bullet points under item number 11, update on infrastructure funding. We have not heard that the bill that has Congressman Crenshaw's funding for the Woodlands Fair Branch Dam has gone out of committee and to the House and to the Senate yet, so we're still waiting to hear about that. Fair Branch Dam repairs. Remember, we had some voids and some crack sealing and stuff that needed to be done. Contractor moved in early July. He's completed what was known to be needed to be done. While he was out there on the Stilling Basin, which is downstream of the dam. Normally, in the past, that's been underwater because it's been wet and everything. It's now dry. So under the water, there was about 8 to 9 inches of sand that the contractor had to remove. So he found some areas where the joints needed to be repaired. So we've got a little bit of an overrun on joint sealing of those joints. The voids that we had identified previously were slightly larger than what we had anticipated. So we've got a little bit of an overrun there. And also, when we were doing a pre-final inspection of the Stilling Basin, we found where there were some new voids identified. And so we've authorized the contractor to go in and fix those. Now, what does that all mean? It means that our original bid was $107,000. We've already exceeded that number. And with this new authorization, it's probably going to be that the project's probably going to be 60,000 over budget, round numbers. Now, we had $150,000 budgeted So it doesn't sound as bad as it might, because it's basically an overrun of about 10,000 of the budget. Now, to remind you all that we had projected $101,000 carry forward from FY 22 to FY 23. So that additional amount that we're going to need to finish up the contract will eat into that a little bit, but not a whole lot. And so we should come out okay. So that's it on Bear Branch Dam repairs. The next item is the Bear Branch Dam low flow vault update. Bob, you had asked last month, we were talking to you all about the vault and the safety issue with the vault and the lid. You had asked if there was a way to move forward with putting the grate safety netting in. They don't make safety netting anymore for lift stations. It's a solid grate. Well, it's a grate, metal grate or aluminum grate. Most of the grates are integral to the hatch. And so we would, if we ended up moving the grate forward, advance it, and then come back and do the hatch, we'd end up doing double work. We also don't save any time, a whole lot of time. The delivery on the grate was like 9 weeks, and the hatch itself, hatch and grate, is 14 weeks. So you'd only save about a month. We still have to do a little bit of engineering to get that done, but we're prepared to move forward on that as quick as possible, just because we can advance the engineering now. You know, the invoices for that wouldn't come in until after September 1 anyway. So we can move that forward, but we're prepared to get engineering underway on that.
Thank you for investigating that. I was really more thinking of a liability aspect of that, and we've addressed it, we've researched it, so.
We'll just be more diligent about being out there on a regular basis, making sure the lock is still on the existing hatch.
Mhm. I noticed a little more graffiti is starting to show up. Is there any idea that, any way that we can, because it is so ugly?
I was gonna
Ugly.
say.
Yeah, you know,
Nice.
and it's so unfortunate because, you know, you got this beautiful new stretch of bridge and they've trimmed all the foliage back and it's very, and then all of a sudden you take a gander at the dam and there's,
We've been trading off painting services with the township.
yeah,
So we'll,
even the
Well,
painting is unfortunately not the aesthetic that I think most of the residents are looking for, or casual travelers. You know, I know it's better than the graffiti that was there, that's for sure, but I don't know if there's any other way to.
What about an art project? You're capable, don't you have?
It's still graffiti then.
Oh, I'm just giving it off.
I mean, you know, that could be.
would you like something to match what the Woodlands painted on the ground?
I don't know. I know that you guys try all the time to keep that area as secure as you possibly can.
Right.
But it's a task, to say the least, but whatever we can do to make that dam.
Well, one of the things we had vowed to do as part of this, the FY 23 budget, is monitor the activity out there a little closer to see if there's value in adding cameras during the expo.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't want to get off track because it's not aesthetics. I think the fact that the repairs are going so well, and I personally think that finding those other voids and potential points of risk, they're not going to get fixed any cheaper if you do a slipshod job now and then have to come back in 2 years. So let's do it right. It's going to cost a little more, but you're on the right track. You're doing the right things, in my opinion. So thank you, sir.
I get the guys focused on painting.
Yeah, or whatever. Get some big dogs out there or something. Train some, just being silly. Never mind.
sir.
Anything else?
That's it for us. And then Dan's back up on item 12.
Okay. Received the update on the SJRA Spring Creek Detention Study.
update on that. We did cancel our August progress meeting. And we do plan to have the progress meeting that's scheduled September 20th. And the reason being, we are still working with our consultant on what we've termed like the decision matrix on the different paths we could possibly take forward. Over the past month, 2 months, we've been in a lot of coordination with Texas Water Development Board to make sure we aren't authorizing our consultant to do anything outside the scope that we were approved for the grant funds. So that has taken a little bit additional time to coordinate, get them on board, let them know what we're trying to do. They said, all right, yep, we'll put together this decision matrix. And once you get the funding partners and others back together and develop a more formal path forward, we would have to go back to TWDB to make sure, all right, here's our new plan of attack. Are you okay with that? One promising item is we looked at the 2 different reservoirs, one being Walnut Creek, one being Birch Creek. Our consultant's done a little bit more sensitivity analysis on the actual size the reservoir would need to be and how much volume it would hold behind it versus the impacts on the downstream area here in the Woodlands. Kirkendall is one of the major kind of checkpoints. And it appears to be that there is some promise in reducing the footprint and the volume of the Birch Creek Dam to where it is potentially becomes feasible and relooking at that benefit cost ratio in that analysis. So that is going to be one item during the September meeting. They'll be able to present some additional information from that sensitivity analysis and will be one of the items listed on the decision matrix that, you know, here, if it's still looking promising, we could move forward with this option.
Great.
So that's, I think, all I had on that one. Any questions?
Great step forward. Thank you.
We don't have to cough up the 56.
Okay, agenda item 13, receive the attorney's report. Attorney Yates, please.
Yes, sir. I do not have any legal items to discuss with y'all this
Very good.
month, so it's a good flat month. from my
Yeah.
perspective.
Thank you. Agenda item 14, staff report on AC and PVC line maintenance, repair,
This
replacement.
was the evaluation we did. We had the consultant Xylem. Was the consultant. We do have the report. We can provide you a copy of the report, or I can have Shelley put it on the Google Drive for everybody to look at. But the bottom line is both the PVC and the AC lines, all their probabilities of failure are less than 5% in the 95th percentile. So we're pretty comfortable, although it was a small study, pretty comfortable with our smaller lines that we're good for a while. We don't need to be budgeting anything in the near future for line repair or line replacements.
That's terrific news.
Yeah.
That's surprising too, isn't it?
Yeah, like I said, it's a small study. It was only 3 locations, but it included, you know, all the pipes that we wanted to cover. So we'll put that up on the Google Drive and you can look at it. There's an executive summary and some graphs and stuff just about all the testing and the cycling that they did. It's very interesting.
Thank you. Agenda item 15, receive the general manager's report. Again, Mike.
So I talked to Jim, just a quick update on him. Right before the meeting, he told me Nurse Ratchet just left and he was really sore, but he is at home getting physical therapy. Probably won't be here this week, but he did make it last week to Bob Daly's retirement party. That brings up a interesting point. I don't believe we introduced John Geiger, who has replaced Bob. We get John from the township. He was the former environmental services manager there. And so we're happy to have him to fill the education and outreach coordinator job that Bob did for us for so many years. So welcome to John. The only other thing I've got is just in the packet. There's a couple of attaboys for some water billing people. Margot Anderson got 2 letters in there for her helpful cleaner, and that's all I've got, unless you've got questions.
I've got a question.
Sure.
What's the hope that this 238,000 can be regained? Is there any hope?
There is,
Where are you looking at?
Right here on the Tacos
kind
Oh,
of,
yeah, I was about to-
reimbursements there.
we kind of get pause, if you
There
will,
it is.
when Jim went out with his back surgery, and then superintendent went down with his broken leg, so. But my superintendent's back, he's on crutches and a scooter, but he is compiling all the remaining invoices, and the thought is we'll sit down with their new CFO, Keith, his last name escapes me now, but and say, this is the remaining bills, Tacos is holding retainage on some of these guys, so if they follow suit like they've done in the past, they will pay us their retainage, and then the Tacos will deal with their own subs. If not, we'll have to take another legal approach, file suit or something. We're getting there. We're getting there.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Further questions? No? Okay, agenda item 16, trustees report. Mike, please. You attended, I think it was a very comprehensive report. If there are questions, I'm sure that between Mike and myself, we can provide suitable answers, but it was a pretty straightforward meeting.
Yeah.
It's been well captured.
45, nothing really to highlight. We got get close on AMI completions. Last Tuesday's check, we had 199 meters to go. End of the month, we should be.
You had mentioned that at the trustees meeting that you had some crew issues.
We have a crew issue. Yeah, we've got a two-man crew. They're here. They're here to finish the job, but it's just the rest of their crew is up in Congress.
And also because of the way that things just worked out, these are the nastiest 2%.
The hardest-
Lots of roots and
Yeah.
so on and so forth. And with a small crew, it's
These were the ones that kind of
dragging it up.
saved to the end. So our staff is cutting out the roots, and then Amoresco's staff is replacing the meters once we get the roots and the obstructions cut out. Yeah, and some of these are larger ones in the meter vaults. We're changing out, some of the larger numbers with the bigger registers. The meter vaults are full of water, and you gotta pump those out. Just a little bit more cumbersome than a regular residential meter.
Very good. Are there any questions on the trustees report? Hearing none, we'll move to agenda item 17. Do we need to recess, Brian?
Sure.
We do not. Takes care of 17 and 18. And that brings us to agenda item 19. Discuss any matters for placement on future agendas. Anybody have any particular? Tax rate, that's for sure. No further additions? Yes, Betty?
Heather, will we have anything to report from the education committee next time that we need to talk about, since we're all three on it?
Hopefully so.
I like that answer. That was really good and expansive and deep. Thanks, John. That's why I would have answered it.
If something arises, we can add before the meeting. We can add an agenda item. to
Okay.
cover it. And that-
Sure.
and we will if there is something of note. Here we are, agenda item 20, adjournment. I'll make a motion to adjourn this
I
meeting
second
in
it.
2 seconds. And we are closed at 12:44.
You like that, don't you?
Yeah.